it out till the end. Now that it's raining more than ever, know that we still have each other. You can stand under my umbrella, you can stand under my umbrella.
Hey guys, you're welcome back to my channel today. Thank you so much for stopping by. In this video, be recreating this top that you can see on your screen. So if you're interested, keep on watching and let's get started. So I'll be cutting on my fabric today, and I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into 4 because I want to use the fabric as my lining for the front. So my fabric is folded into 4. The next thing I'll do is to start taking my point. So this top is a spaghetti strap top, so I'm going to be taking out 6 inches before I start marking my point. The 6 inches I'm taking out is what I'll use to cut out my spaghetti strap. So what I'll do is to start placing my point. The distance from my shoulder to my bust point is 10 inches, so I took out the 6 inches and I marked 10 inches. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my chest line. Mine is 8 inches, so I'll still take out the 6 inches. I'll mark my 8 inches and I'll rule a straight line across. The next point is the distance from my shoulder to my waistline. So my actual waistline is 16 inches. I went ahead to add 1 inch to it. So I'll go ahead and label my lines. I have my chest line, which is C, my bust line, which is B, and my waistline, which is W. So the next thing I'll do is to determine the basque. You know, this top has a basque waistline, so how deep I want the basque waistline to be. So I went down by 5 inches from my waistline. On the shoulder line, which is the start of my fabric, I'll place my shoulder measurement divided by 2. Mine is 8 inches, so because I want the upper area to be fitted, I reduced that measurement by 6 inches. You can reduce yours by 1 inch since this is a spaghetti strap top. On the bust line, I took my bust circumference divided by 4 and I added 1 inch to that measurement for stitching allowance. And I'm going to connect the dots on the bust points and on the chest line to meet the 6 inches mark that I just took on my shoulder line. I hope that you understand. So this slant that I just created is my armhole. On the waist point, I'll take my waist circumference divided by 4 and I'll add 1 inch to it for stitching allowance. After doing that, I'll connect all the dots into a straight line. So what I'll do is to connect from this basque waistline to meet the waist. So I'll come inward on the waistline like this by 1 inch. That is, I came in by my stitching allowance of 1 inch. I'll slant from this point to meet the 1 inch mark, just like you see me doing. This top has a sweetheart neckline, so what I'm going to do, because I don't want mine to be too deep, I'll go down by 1 inch on the center front and then I'll connect it like this to meet the mark on the armhole area. So if you want yours to be deep, you can just connect straight from your bust line, okay? That way to be very deep. I'll cut out after doing that. So look at the way I'm cutting so you know where to cut. After cutting, guys, this is what I have. Like I said, my fabric was folded into 2, so I have the main piece and the lining piece here. So we're going to keep this aside and we're going to work on the back. So guys, for the back, my fabric is already folded into 2, so I'll still be taking out the 6 inches for the spaghetti strap. So I'll mark the distance from my shoulder to my chest line, which is 8 inches, distance from my shoulder to my bust point, which is 10 inches, distance from my shoulder to the waist point, which is 17 inches, and I'll rule straight lines across all these points. After doing that, I'm going to place half of my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So for the front, I took 6 inches. I'll repeat the same thing for the back, okay? After doing that, on the bust points and on the chest line, I'll take my bust circumference divided by 2. If you like, you can add stitching allowance to the back, because this back is going to have a loop, so I don't think you'll be needing stitching allowance. But if you want, add stitching allowance, and it also depends on how open you want the back to be. I'll connect from the chest line to meet the 6 inches mark. That point is going to be my armhole. So the next thing I'm going to do is to cut. So the back is very simple, you don't have to do anything for the back. The next thing you do is to determine how open you want the back to be. So for me, since I did not add stitching allowance, I'm just going to go ahead and take out 1 inch from this back. So if you want it to be very open, you can do 2 inches. I went ahead to cut out the 1 inch, and this is what I have for my back piece. I'm going to place this on my lining piece and I'll cut out the lining. So I've gone ahead to cut out on my lining piece, guys, and this is what I have for the back. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and create my loop. Okay, so I went ahead to cut out this long piece of fabric. I folded it into 2 and I sewed on the straight line, and then I turned it inside out. So what I'm going to do is to determine where I want to place my loop. So it depends on how you want it, but make sure you leave space that you'll be using to join your lining piece to the main fabric. So I went down by 1/2 inch, which is what I'll use to join my lining and the fabric, and from that 1/2 inch point I took 1.5 inches apart. Okay, so that is the distance that I want from one loop to the other one, so 1.5 inches. For the loop, I'll go ahead and cut out 2 inches. Okay, I'll cut out 2 inches. After cutting this one, I'll use this particular one to cut out the other loops. So guys, after cutting out the loops, this is what I have. I'll go ahead and place the loops on the mark that I already made like this, and I'll sew it down. Okay, so go ahead and place all the loops on the lines and sew on a straight line. After sewing, guys, this is what I have. What I'm going to do is to place my lining piece on the main piece, just like you see me doing. I'll go ahead and sew the armhole, sew the loop area. I'll also sew the neckline, and I'll be back. So guys, after sewing the back piece in place, this is what I have. For the front, I'll go ahead and cut out my spaghetti strap. So remember, I took out 6 inches before taking my measurements. So if you took out 7 inches or 8 inches, make sure that your loop is ×2 of what you took out. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So I took out 6 inches, so my loop is 12 inches, 6 inches for the front and 6 inches for the back. If you took out 8 inches, your loop should be 16 inches, 8 inches for the front and 8 inches for the back. So my loop is 12 inches long. Okay, so I went ahead to cut out a 1 inch piece of fabric. I folded it into 2, I sewed it and I turned it inside out, and the length is 12 inches. So what I'll do, place it inside the lining piece and the main piece, just like you see me doing on that point, and I'm going to go ahead and pin. So I did not add stitching allowance to this spaghetti strap because I want it to be very firm. So guys, after placing the strap inside the fabric, I'll go ahead and sew. I'll sew the neckline, I'll sew the Basque waistline, I'll sew the armhole, and I'll leave the sides open because I'll use the side to turn everything inside out, and then I'll go ahead and iron. I've gone ahead to sew all the way around. I went ahead to iron, and this is what I have. You can see that I still have my opening on the side. Okay, so these are my back piece. After sewing, I also went ahead to iron. So I'm going to place them on each other like this, and you can already see what we have. The next thing we are going to do is to cut out the sleeves. So this is my fabric for the sleeves. The fabric is not much. What I'll do is to fold the fabric into 2 like this. So the length of this fabric is 18 inches, and the wideness of this fabric is 14 inches on fold, meaning the wideness is 28 inches. So what I'll do, on the base of the sleeves, I'll connect like this in a circular form. So look at what I'm doing. I'm just trying to work my way around so the base of the sleeves is not just straight. So I connected in a circular form like this, and I went ahead to cut this part out. It's because I don't have enough fabric to cut out a circle, but if you have enough fabric, you can cut out a circle for the sleeves. So what I'll do is to hem the base. This part that I just cut out, I'll go ahead and hem it, And on the upper part of the sleeves, I'm going to create channel for my elastic band to pass through. So I'll fold into two and then I'll sew on a straight line, making sure that the channel is wide enough for this elastic band to pass through. After doing that, I'll pass my elastic band through. So I've gone ahead to do that for the upper part, and for the base I've gone ahead to also hem, and this is what I have. So we are left with this particular opening on the two sides of the sleeves. So what I will do is to bring in my front piece. Okay, we'll be working on this first. I'm going to turn my front piece inside out, so I'm turning it to the wrong side. Okay, we are going to gather the sides of the sleeves inside this front fabric. So what I'm going to do, from the spaghetti strap, I'm going to mark 3 inches out. So guys, please pay close attention to this part of this tutorial. So I'll go out from the part where I sewed in the spaghetti strap and I'll come out by 3 inches. I'll use my chalk to mark it. So I'm going to lose this area. Okay, I'll lose this 3 inches. Okay, I'll not lose to meet the spaghetti strap. I'll just lose the 3 inches that I just marked on both sides. After opening it up, this is what I have. So what I'm going to do is to turn it back to the right side, and then I'll go ahead and bring in the sleeves. So for the two sides of the sleeves, I'm going to take one side and I'm going to gather it. You can either gather or pleat it, or just put it and arrange it with your hands. So I'm going to place it like this and I'll push it inside the opening that I have on this fabric. So just look at what I'm doing. After placing it, I'll turn my fabric to the wrong side and I'll go ahead and arrange it. After arranging it, I'll pin everything down. I'll head over to my sewing machine and I will sew. So just take your time to arrange this and then go ahead and sew. After pinning it, guys, this is what I have. This is what it looks like on the outside. I'll just go ahead and sew. After sewing, guys, this is what I have. I went ahead to iron it flat. So the next thing I'll do is to arrange the sleeves towards the armhole area, and to know where to stop, remember we still have our stitching allowance of 1 inches. I'll place my tape like this and I'll mark 1.5 inches, and I'll indicate that point with my chalk. So I'll take the sleeves, I'll arrange it like this, and I'll stop on the chalked line that I have. I'll pin it down. So I'm just going to go ahead and stitch that part down. So after doing that, guys, this is what I have. The next thing I'll do is to bring my 2 back piece. I'll go ahead and turn the 2 back piece inside out. Okay, I'll turn it inside out and I'll go ahead and open the armhole area and the neckline. So just like we did for the front, for the back we're going to open the back up and we'll open a bit of the armhole area. So guys, after opening, this is what I have. So don't open the armhole area completely, just a little bit. So this is what I have. What I'm going to do is to turn my fabric over to the right side. So this is what we did for the front. I'll pick the other side of the sleeves, that is the other part that we did not hem. I'll pick it up and I'll gather it just like we did for the front, and then I'm going to place it inside the neckline for the back, and I'll turn my fabric to the wrong side, and then I'll arrange it the way I want it and I'll pin. So for the spaghetti strap also, I'm going to pick it and then I'm going to pass it through the opening on the armhole area. You just know where to place it, okay? So I'm going to place the spaghetti strap also, so that when I'm sewing, I'll sew everything. And mind the way you place the sleeve, because the sleeves is supposed to fall backwards, okay? So just take your time to arrange this. Once you place your sleeves inside the back piece, it should fall backwards, okay? So you are turning the sleeves to the wrong side before putting it inside the back panel. I hope that you understand. In order for the spaghetti strap to be firm on my shoulder, I still went ahead to reduce it by 1 inch. You don't have to do this. After pinning it down, I'll go ahead and repeat the same process for the other sleeves. I've gone ahead to stitch it down, and this is what it looks like. The next thing I'll do is to sew the sides with 1 inch. Okay, so I'll go ahead and stitch the sides with 1 inch. After doing that, guys, I'll go ahead and cut out a long piece of fabric that I'll be using to lace the loop for the back. I've gone ahead to stitch the sides, guys, and this is what I have. So if you sewed your sleeves correctly, the sleeves at the back should fall backward and the one at the front should fall forward. I hope that you understand. If you are confused, just leave your questions in the comment section. I went ahead to cut out the fabric that I'll be using to lace my loop. The fabric should be as long as you want it, so I'll go ahead and lace my loop. And yeah, guys, that is all for this tutorial. I hope it was helpful. If you have any question, leave it in the comment section. Subscribe if you are not a subscriber. Don't forget to like this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.